All right. Are you ready, buddy?
I'm ready, dude.
You ready to get fucking back?
Fuck! I just spilled my coffee all over the place.
No!
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for a cinematic odyssey through the 100 greatest films spanning from the roaring 1920s to the cutting-edge masterpieces of 2024. Carefully curated from the lovely people on Letterboxd. Two intrepid souls embark on a journey through a treasure trove of timeless classics and groundbreaking contemporary works, where each frame embodies the enduring magic of the silver screen. Grab your popcorn and join us on this epic expedition through a century of cinematic excellence, where every film promises to enchant, inspire, and leave an indelible mark on the soul. And now, for your listening pleasure, here are the LetterBros.
This is a cursed episode.
This is a fucking cursed episode. Fuck Tokyo Story. Welcome, everybody, to the newest episode of LetterBros, where we let a wheel decide our fate and what movie we will watch next, based off the top 100 movies on Letterboxd. As always, and forever, I'm Felix, and that's Parker. How we doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing good. I have some good news to tell you as well, which is why we couldn't record whatever last time, which I'll talk to you off camera. But things have been going good here, dude. We've both been very busy, obviously. I've been watching movies that have been coming out in theaters pretty consistently. Just saw Superman and Eddington, both of those in theaters, and I enjoyed them both. I did, for various reasons, different reasons than, I enjoyed. You know what I'm saying? I enjoyed them both for different reasons.
Yeah, exactly. They're two completely different movies meant to be enjoyed by two audiences, but I mean, in our sake, like, we love movies, we enjoy them and rate them just based off of what they're supposed to be and what we're supposed to take away from them. So
yeah,
I get it.
I think there was still a lot of Ari Aster in Eddington, despite it not being a horror movie. There were some moments of Ari Aster, in other films that were actually kind of
patented,
scary. They
just
would have worked
gripping, like, thriller aspect was very much a part of that. Granted, I still haven't seen Beau is Afraid, so
I don't think you need to watch it. Honestly, this kind of felt like a more reined in, more focused Beau is Afraid in a way, because the protagonist is still, like, pretty paranoid. It felt like a mix of Beau is Afraid and No Country for Old Men is what this movie felt like to me.
that's fair.
It's probably my second favorite Ari Aster film behind Hereditary. It's probably on the same level as Midsommar. But I mean, to be fair, I was lukewarm on Midsommar. I enjoyed it, but I was pretty lukewarm on it. I did really like Eddington, and I really did not like Beau is Afraid. I mean, really did not like it. But we're not here to talk about those. I'd be happy to, but we do have a much older, much more grounded movie to talk about. One that is still dealing with themes that are present in today's society, despite the fact that it was created almost 75 years ago, if I'm doing my math right. Probably closer to 70 years ago. But that is Tokyo Story, directed by Yasuhiro Ozu, and it came out in 1953. If it's cool with you, I'll bring us into a little brief synopsis and talk about our cast and crew.
Do it, dude.
So, like I mentioned, we're discussing today Tokyo Story, directed by Yasuhiro Ozu, and it follows an aging couple, Shukichi and Tomi Hirayama, as they're traveling from their hometown of Onomichi, where they raised their family, to go and visit their now grown children in the bustling city of Tokyo. Despite their hopes of reconnecting with their family, however, they find themselves largely neglected and shuffled between their children, who are constantly busy with work and other assignments that they kind of seem to create for themselves. Their journey kind of becomes a quiet reflection on family, on aging, and on the changing dynamics between generations and expectations that parents carry for their children and children carry for their parents. So let's talk about this and get this out of the way. You had to watch this movie multiple times. I watched, and not necessarily in a good way from what it sounds like, I watched the first half of this movie and then restarted the movie a few days later and watched it through, almost all the way through before picking it back up. On my first watch, the first half of the movie, I probably just wasn't fully in it, and that's why. But I was having a hard time figuring out who was related to who, and who was just a caretaker, and who was
Yeah.
where everyone laid in the family, like who was married to a child, who was a child, who was an
Who was
employee of a.
married to a child?
You know what I'm talking about. But why
It's just a
why did
weird
you have
way
to
to
watch
put
this
it.
movie so many times?
Yeah. No, I found myself like really trying to figure out like what the hell was going on in this movie for most of it. Like, I mean, my first watch, it was kind of like how I always end up watching things. It's like it's always late at night, it's always before work. I try to like just get this stuff done. But because we've been on like a long hiatus, it did take me a while to like kind of sorry, I'm also charging my light. Um
Unacceptable. Go on.
it also took me a while to kind of also just try and get into what Ozu is trying to sell me because on my first initial watch, I did not like this movie at all. Like it I thought that it was going for a tone of us trying to care for these characters, but I felt like the performances were very like weird. And I felt like they were very flat for the message that they were trying to like convey. That like, oh, they're here. Like everybody is always smiling in my mind. I'm like, I felt like a lot of times, especially Noriko, um, that a lot of times they're talking about like just out of nowhere. Oh, hey, by the way, your husband, our son, he died. You should get over it. And she's just like, oh no, I'm happy. I'm happy. I promise I'm happy. I don't know. It just kind of felt like slightly unsettling. And then the scene would be over, and all of a sudden, Noriko's smile like just disappears. And I mean, upon second watch, I feel like that's a character choice. Like she wants to play off this like she I feel like even after all these years, like after their son has died and she's still like somewhat like big member of the family, like that she's still trying to please her in-laws. And I mean,
Well, definitely.
just because like jumping just straight forward to the end, like it takes literally like and spoiler alert, this movie's been out for 75 years. So like
In the
um
US, it didn't release until 1972. So, still, if you haven't seen it, probably should have seen it by now. And if you're
I
watching this,
mean
you probably have watched
53
it.
years ago in
Yeah.
America, sure. But it takes like literally Tomi dying for Shukichi, the dad, to finally be like, honestly, you were the best and most kindest member of this family. You need to stop trying and you need to go and live your life. Like, so it took me multiple watches to kind of really get a feel for what Ozu was putting at, and I feel that it benefited from me watching it about 4 or 5 times
Yeah.
throughout the span of like what 2 or 3 months or
So
so
you've
since
watched the movie in its entirety 4 or 5 times? Or
I
you
would say like I've
watched it
I've
in 4
had
or 5
4 or 5
sittings?
sittings
Okay.
of this movie.
I
And
like
I
the
usually
second half of this film a lot more than the first half.
you said you liked it or no?
I like the second half of it a lot more
Yeah.
than the first half. I agree with the first half. Let me get this out of the way that like for me to really love a movie, it has to have a certain level of entertainment, and it also has to impact me on an emotional level that is residual and continues to stick with me. But also it needs to be a movie that I had a good time watching for the most part, even if it's a tough subject
Yeah.
matter, one that I am thoroughly involved in for the entire runtime. This is not that movie for me. It definitely had the emotional impact, and I think that what is being discussed here is something that a lot of people don't really think about. And I've been always someone who's very close with my family, so it and I'll get into it in a second. I had a recent experience that tied me to this film on an emotional level as well. It was not fun, so to speak, to watch.
No.
It's very boring. I'll just go out and say, especially the first half. I was eager for it to keep going and hopefully pick up. In the second half, it's still not an entertaining movie per se, but at the very least, it was pulling at my heartstrings in a very impactful way. So I think you would agree that in terms of entertainment level, it's on one of the bottom tiers of the movies that we've watched. so far. In my mind, it's not as much of a slog as, say, The Human Condition Part 1, but I would put it there with maybe like Sancho the Bailiff or In the Mood for Love as movies that I really enjoyed and appreciated, but wouldn't be super eager to watch again. In the Mood for Love, maybe, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Nice close up on that ugly ass shirt.
Hell yeah, go got those, baby. Sorry, I'm also trying to. No, this thing isn't gonna want to work. Fucking who cares? I completely agree with in terms of what you're saying. Like the message is there, and it again, if I would have been based off of just my initial reaction of the movie, I would have, and we would have gone straight into it. I would have not liked this movie at all. It was boring at times. I couldn't really connect with the characters, but that was because I was still going through the first half, and I feel like there was a lot of like, and like you said, I didn't really feel like any sort of like personal connection because these people seem like they don't want anything to do with their family. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Also, these children, like, and I say children because they're adults and the parents are elderly. These guys suck. They are awful children. They spend the entire movie just pushing their parents as sort of like a problem onto other people or shipping them off somewhere to just like not have anything to do with them. And it's kind of frustrating, and that's part of like what made me not like the movie to begin with. But then you get to, the mom dying, and kind of really seeing that as, while the children might not have wanted to like, really spend a lot of time with them, and they didn't know that their elderly mother was dying, but the message of seeing your loved ones in a good and light manner before you end up seeing them in a hospital bed or regrettably on their deathbed, is what is the part of the movie that I was like, okay, like this is where I'm connecting to it, because
there is no point in the film in which the entire family is around the mother until after she has died.
Yeah.
Right. And that is a thing in life that I think we've probably both seen firsthand, is oftentimes the most communal interactions between families are after a loved one has passed away. And that in and of itself carries a sense of tragedy, because that person is so close time-wise to of being alive with all of these people who love them around them, celebrating them, but they never get to experience it firsthand. And there's a certain haunting nature that carries in my mind. Recently, over the summer, I flew home from Los Angeles to go see my grandfather before he passed away. And obviously, I am not one of the characters in this film. I call my grandfather like 2-3 times a week. We talk all the time. But the heaviness of knowing before I even got there that he had already passed away was burdensome.
Yeah.
It was obviously a very, very emotional trip. I'm grateful that, like I said, I got to spend so much time with him over his 95 years. But at the same time, watching this film and like seeing, it made me grateful that I had made the effort that I had, and that he had made the effort that he had for us to have such a close relationship. Because I don't doubt that there's people that are similar to the characters portrayed in this film who put their relatives off time after time, thinking that, they'll always be there, taking them for granted in a way. And then they still have that emotional reaction and that sense of guilt and regret to a degree. I mean, they didn't really show that much guilt in this film. I mean, after the fact, but
no,
I don't know.
I mean, half the time, even after the mom had died,
she's asking for
first of all, the youngest son, who's the worst, is like, "Oh, I'd stay, but I have a baseball game to go to."
Yeah.
Or like, "Oh, I have to go to work." And literally the only person that stays is Noriko. And so it's just like, even after the mom has died and they've, shed their emotions and they've spent their time with dad or whatever, they still are like, "Okay, but I have to leave," which I get it. That's such an awkward thing. Like, you can't stay with dad forever.
Right.
Like, as much as you would want to, if you were Noriko and you like and you really wanted to just stay with him and make sure he's okay, like you still have work, you still have your own lives. And I feel like that's another important message of the movie is, even after, like, your kids
Finding
have
the
gone and,
balance.
like, created their own lives, like I feel like it's the mother and father's responsibility to kind of accept the fact that their children are now members of society and have their own lives, like.
And they do. At no point did the parents ever show resentment towards their children. They're actually
No.
talking about how great of a time that they had in Tokyo, despite the fact that their expectations clearly were not met, especially when
Yeah.
they're sent to the hotel is just sad.
Yeah, and that they're just trying to, like, they're like, this isn't really our scene, but we'll try and, like, enjoy ourselves. And, like, the younger generation is out, like, keeping them up all night. And then we start to see, like, the mom deteriorating and getting dizzy on this trip. And,
Mhm.
like, it's just, they're trying, but you see that clear disconnect between generations. Like,
And there's certain foreshadowing that's very poignant in this film, in my opinion. Obviously, when she's talking to her grandchild, saying, "I wonder if I'll ever get to see you, grow up to do what it is that you love." Or
yeah.
when she's leaving Tokyo and she's saying, "Now, if I die, you don't have to come to uh,
Oh, yeah.
Onomichi." And her daughter saying, "Well, this isn't a goodbye," kind of showing that they're taking for granted the fact that they just she'll be around forever, right? We don't need to
No.
give the effort right now. We can delay it. Eventually, I'll give you the effort.
Yeah, but and that's sad. Like when the mom is always consistently saying, like even to Noriko, who like never makes her feel like a burden, is consistently saying, "Oh, I'm just a burden. I'm not. I feel sorry that my kids have to kind of put this time forth to spend time with me. Like I feel, or like putting up a room for me, either in a hotel or in their house. Like it's just sad that
Mhm.
that's the relationship that's been built. Like." What I mean? I kind of almost it makes me self-reflect. I'm like, I would never want my parents or a member of my family to feel like that. Like
Mhm.
and it's the same with you. Like we both feel like we have very good connections with family, and it kind of takes a movie like this to make you really stop and think like, is this the kind of relationship that I'm giving, and give a little bit of self-reflection on how your relationships are with your family. And again, I'm glad that I did, because watching it, I felt awful, like that these people would treat their family like that. So,
I
at the end
think
of the
Ozu
day,
had a
like
really
it's a
good
heavy topic, but it makes you
yeah.
feel good knowing that like if that sort of relationship is kind of like deterring you away, it means that you're doing something good in your own life.
Yeah, kind of getting off the topic of the themes. Visually, I thought it was a really striking film. I think Ozu has a really good eye for how to show kind of the hidden pain that you were showing, like how Noriko, yeah, is she's always smiling, but it's clear behind her eyes she's
Mhm.
got guilt and pain and everything's not okay, but she
No, and
is
it's
getting
always at the end of a conversation. Besides the end of the movie, you never really see her like in the middle of a conversation change her tone of voice or change her emotions. Like
Mhm.
she usually tries to keep that pretty close to the chest until the very end of the movie,
Yeah.
where she's just breaking down and crying in front of Shukichi. So,
But Ozu does a really good job of just capturing their face right there in the frame and
yeah.
making it intimate and close. And then also there's just shots that are intercut of Tokyo or of Onomichi
Mhm.
that are nice to look at and allow you to kind of sit with the emotional depth of what's happening.
Yeah.
Kind of like
I
how the
love
parents
the
are just looking out their
streetcar
window.
scene where they're, like, in the little streetcar getting a tour of Tokyo, and it's just, like, this perfect, like, little time capsule of Tokyo back in the 1950s, and it just
Mhm.
looks it's so pretty to look at. So, I agree with you there. I'm, like, also mid changing my score between visual and auditory, but we'll get into that in a little bit, but
Yeah. Um I think we could get into it pretty soon.
yeah?
Um
Do you have any final thoughts on the film before we dive into it?
I think I watched this on HBO and I don't know, it felt like the captioning maybe didn't capture the full depth of what it was the characters were saying. So I think that
Mhm.
there was probably a little bit of disconnect there. And not to mention obviously the fact that this is a movie that takes place almost 75 years ago in a land that is completely foreign to me. I'm not incredibly familiar with the cultural norms of that time and place. So
Yeah.
I don't know what is like standard. And like, there's a lot of grunting in the movie, in terms of
There is a
people
lot of grunting,
acknowledging the
especially from the elderly dad, or he's just like, "Nyeh."
yeah. And I
Dude,
thought,
no, my
I thought that
favorite
was
bit is when they bring them back from the bar and she's
yeah,
just asking, like, "Father, what are you doing?" And he's just like, "Ugh."
yeah.
That part, it brought me back into the movie, and I was cackling. Like, that was so funny.
But at the same time, I think a lot of this movie is a lot of the dialogue is nonverbal in this film, and I respect that. I do respect that, and it helped.
Mhm.
With it being the fact that I felt the captioning was not the strongest captioning job ever done. It helped that a lot of what was going on was conveyed through body language. But I don't necessarily have any final thoughts other than it was an objectively good movie that impacted me emotionally that I didn't necessarily enjoy.
I will also say, just based off of this Wikipedia article for the movie, upon its release, it did not immediately gain international recognition and was considered too Japanese to be marketable by Japanese film exporters. So, and I get that. Like, this
Yeah.
movie has a lot of just like little things that you might think is weird, but I feel is, I guess, like what the norm is in Japan. And like you said, like, as much as I love Japan and like everything, like, I have never been there. I don't know what the customs are, especially back in the 50s. Like,
Yeah,
maybe
well,
that's just what,
maybe
and
in terms
again, this movie came out. It's not like this is a period piece. Like, this isn't like
right. It's
a
perennial.
70s movie that takes place in the 50s. Like, that is the present time of when this movie was made. So it's, all of these things are not out of the norm. Like, it's not like they're researching what did they do in this time period. That is what they were doing in this time period.
Well,
So
I think something that we both do know is common in Japan, at least now, is a strong dedication to work, right?
mhm.
I'm not sure how much that has evolved over time, but that I'm sure does apply to the objectives of the characters in the film. But at the end of the day, I would say that the story that's being told is certainly borderless, despite the fact that there are cultural differences between the way that the characters act throughout the film. But I'm good to
Yeah.
move into ratings if you would like to.
Let's fucking do it. All right. So just jumping into it, for enjoyability and rewatchability, I feel like our scores are going to be kind of in tandem. It just depends on what the number is, but I gave this a 10 out of 15. Again, this movie it's not something that I enjoyed watching, but I can appreciate the message and the themes that Ozu is going for. I just wish it was told in a much more like, not, I don't want to say compelling, because it is compelling. I just wish it was a little bit more like attractive. I guess, like, I'm having trouble trying to find the words, but like, it's something to like just help me like cling more towards the film, as opposed to just making me feel like I'm watching it as a chore, if
Hmm.
that makes any sense.
This movie definitely feels like a bit of a chore to watch. 100%. I have a lot of respect for this movie. It's one of those movies I've already said that is objectively great. In terms of my personal enjoyability and rewatchability, I give it a 5 out of 15. It's
Oh
not one
my.
that I'm going to revisit really. It's one that I'll probably think about, but it felt like homework doing this movie a little bit, and that's where this category comes in, and that's why it's out of 15 points, is because in my mind it's a critical aspect to a film, something that I can groove with. And like I want to be like I I say this with the understanding that there are movies that are super enjoyable that have very heavy and tough themes. But typically, like I want to be engaged. Like I don't want to feel its runtime. I don't think I should be looking away, and I have a pretty decent attention span. I don't think it's necessarily just, people our age, having TikTok brain. It's more so
TikTok.
it's just not one of the movies that I was able to enjoy watching. So,
No,
like I said,
and
it's
honestly,
there with Sancho the Bailiff and In the Mood for Love down below the score of 6 and 7. So, it's in
but
that
that's
same
the thing.
company.
I also feel like, and as a movie as old as that, because what's Sancho the Bailiff? It was 1954, so just a little bit younger than this movie, but it was still able to retain my attention. So I don't feel like it. And I'm also changing my score. I'm changing it to a 7 out of 15. Because again, like I couldn't find myself enjoying this more than I did. But I mean, it's not necessarily that, like, maybe it's not the era, but it's the actual like content that we're given in this movie. It's just not retaining my attention or your attention, but like we get the themes, we get what the movie is trying to portray.
And it does so successfully. That's why I give Story a 12 out of 15. I think it's a story that is very grounded in human nature, which we find with the best of the movies, and we use that term frequently when discussing the films we're watching on this list, because some of the best movies do deal with the human condition. They aren't necessarily called the human condition, but they deal with it, and
Yeah.
this movie does so very, very well, and in a way that provides enough nuance and subtlety, in my opinion, between the characters for them to all have their different perspectives on their relationship with their parents. And you kind of see the similarities in that, where they agree with how much they should care for them, or what the work and life balance should be in their current situation. And I think that the story is woven in a very precise and impactful way. It's not an overly intricate story. It's not The Departed by any means, or a separation or anything like that where there's a lot going on, but it's got a story to tell, and it does so very, very well. Very well, in my opinion. What do you give it?
I also gave it a 12. Again, and for pretty much the same reasons you gave. Like, the messages are there, and where some of aspects of the story I didn't feel a big connection to, like how the children treat their parents, and maybe that's why I wasn't giving this like a 13 or a 14. But towards the end of like the second half of the movie, I felt an instant connection to, and just, having it feel so personal and hit very close to home for you and for me, is one big reason why I give it the score it does. Like, while it might not have been an enjoyable watch for me in terms of like how personally boring I thought the movie was, the story and the themes in the movie are still there and are still compelling to me, which is why for lasting impression I ended up giving this an 11 out of 15, because of how the message was given to us, and how the message was so personal to me, and I'm sure to you as well. But I feel that, again, this movie felt like homework to watch, but when the themes came out and, hit you right at the heartstrings, it was effective in that, and left quite the impression on me, and obviously has left such an impression on filmmaking as a whole.
I also gave it an 11. Like, it definitely connected with me. So in that sense, I think that there will be the given lasting impression. It's not one that made me think about things I've not already thought before, though. Does that make sense? Like, sometimes a
Yeah.
movie will come out and it'll give me a whole mind fuck of perspective. And this type of situation is something I think about often. Like, losing my family is a terrible fear. Like growing up with all four of my grandparents, and watching them get older and deal with that type of thing is very close to me. So it's not something that I haven't personally experienced.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate it for that. But also, in the same vein, I can't give it a score higher than 11 because I already think about this thing. It's not something I'm thinking about because of this movie that I watched. Follow?
Yeah. And I'm sure that there's other movies that you would have a much more enjoyable time watching for the same themes and for the
Sure.
same reasons.
Yeah.
So,
Visual and auditory appeal, I give it a strong 8 out of 10. I think that's beautiful looking film.
Yeah, I also gave it an 8. While there wasn't a score that was like blowing me away, I still thought the music that we got was pleasant to listen to. And I mean, just the time capsule shots of 1950s Japan were just awe-inspiring, and they're just a really nice, like, I keep saying the word time capsule, but like that's what it is. Like, it's this little point in time in Japan that you get to see through the eyes of someone filming in that era. Like I mentioned before, this isn't a period piece. This is people living their lives in that point in time, being filmed in that point of time, which I always like, because it always gives us a different perspective and a different mindset, as opposed to like, we're going to film a movie in the 80s, we have to emulate. It's easier to emulate when you're actually filming and living in that time period, which is always fun.
Mm-hmm.
For pacing, this is where I get a little angsty. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Again, a lot of this movie and a lot of these scenes just drag. And I feel like the pacing is the biggest part for me that detracted me from enjoying this movie a lot more than I could have.
Yeah, I also gave pacing a 5, almost a 4.
Almost a 4.
Week 5. And I get that the movie is deliberately slow paced. You know, it allows you those moments to kind of sit in what you're watching. But at the same time, I didn't like it.
Yeah, and
And
like
not
and
in a
like we were
good,
saying,
and not in a good I didn't like it way. Sometimes I really love when a movie is, doing that intentional slow pacing and hovering and letting you soak things in. I didn't care for it. I thought
but
that
I feel like in that aspect you would still give pacing a higher score because it's a deliberate decision by the director.
right. That's
I
why I
feel
gave it
like
a 5,
here it's
not a
just
4.
like, yeah, correct. But it
I
is
thought
what
the
it is.
acting was really good in this movie, but I agree that at times it felt very monotone, and there's really not a lot of character development going on, which doesn't allow for a wide range of. Sorry, fell in the.
You look like you're going through it. This movie is killing Parker.
I was gonna give it an 8. I think I'll land it at a 7, strong 7. What do you think for acting?
It's funny that we've been pretty in line. Like, I also gave it a 7. I could see what the actors were going for, but again, like, good acting compels me and it like draws me in to want to watch the movie. Like, this movie could be slow paced, but if the actors are like putting in the effort and putting in like really good performances, it could make up for that.
Which
But
they
again, a
were
lot
at
of
times.
again, there were, but there were a lot of scenes where, grandma and grandpa are talking and they're talking and they're very slow draw and it's just very monotone. And I'm just like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
Like, there were a lot of moments watching this being like, especially my first time, I'm just like, why do people think this is like the greatest film of all time? Like, I wouldn't say the acting was awful. It just,
No, it's not bad. Not even bad.
no.
Not even okay. I thought the acting was good, personally.
Yeah.
I never felt love, and I never felt resentment, and I never felt care or lack thereof. It just all felt neutral. A lot of the acting in this film felt very neutral, which
Which
is
is
okay.
crazy because you get the sense that they don't like their parents, but it's not over the top. It almost kind of feels just like natural.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what was so unnatural to me about it, is that like I'm expecting these like deliveries of like, over the top, like, I hate you, mom, get the fuck away. And then the grandma and grandpa being like, our kids don't love us anymore, like bawling out. But it's all just very neutral and
Which
very
I
just
like.
like,
I like that it's not over the top. I think
yeah. And it's a
it
little, it's very real.
keeps my disbelief suspended.
Correct. And that's why I gave suspension of disbelief a 9 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, while
Yeah.
personally for me, I felt like the acting was a little bit like odd at times and the pacing was not all there, I feel like it lends itself to the suspension of disbelief of this movie, making you think like you're just watching these people just go through their life and go through them trying to visit their kids. As I feel like a lot of times it's like that, where you're not going to go and like I mean, again, if this is how your life is, but you're not going to go and outright tell your parents, like, what the hell are y'all doing here? Like, you're being a burden. Like, just go away.
Right.
Like,
And you saw how quickly they could leave when she was about to die or dead. They left
yeah.
at night, showing that it is possible to make sacrifices in other aspects of your life in order to spend time with the ones that you love. So I thought that was an interesting contrast. Like I said, I give it a 10 out of 10. I feel like this is one of those movies that is just life on film, for better or for worse. And I was never really taken out of it as much as I was never really into it. So I'll land it there.
I'm going to change it too, just because I'm trying to think of like ways that I could deter myself of like why I gave it a 9. But if I can't think of anything, I might as well give it a 10.
Originality, I gave it a 9 out of 10. And like you said, I don't really have a reason to not give it a 10 per se. Just the fact that there was nothing like, do you get what I'm saying? Is missing that it factor in terms of originality where I'm like, wow.
It's like what we mentioned earlier. It's that there are other movies that are portraying this exact theme, but are more enjoyable to watch.
And that, I mean, that doesn't impact my score for originality though. It didn't present any ideas that were wholly original to me.
Fair.
So I landed at a 9 because it's still like it told a story in an original way. Like this is Ozu's vision. Like that's very clear.
And I feel that like in line of that, I can also give it an 8 out of 10. Again, this wasn't something that was like instantly when I watch it, I'm like, this is wholly original. Like this is something that is like a one of one of film. But I can respect it for Ozu putting it out there and, you know, like you said, giving us his vision of this specific theme in this time period in Japan and how these people would react to it. I feel is original, but I feel comfortable giving it an 8. And with attachment, I gave it a 2. If you would have asked me after my first watch, this would have been a 1. Like I would have just been like, I don't ever want to watch this fucking movie again. And it might take me a very long time to want to watch this again, but I didn't fully despise it. But I also didn't fall in love with it.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 just because I did feel I felt like I had an emotional connection to this movie.
Yeah.
And if I enjoyed it more, it probably would have been a higher score.
Well, it puts us right both at a 70 even.
Mm-hmm.
We love it. So where does that land us on the... Oh, it's tied with Barry Lyndon.
Okay, that tracks.
Yeah. But I liked Barry Lyndon more than this movie.
I probably did too.
Attachment, I gave it a 2 also.
I also gave it a 2, so Tokyo Story goes above
Barry Lyndon. Yeah, because you gave it a 3.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then there you go, buddy.
We had previously determined that, right? That attachment is the first tiebreaker. Okay.
That is correct.
Okay.
So let's put that right back. I don't know. What the fuck?
I think I need to give In the Mood for Love another watch. Was it that boring?
It was just odd. Like, I don't know. I couldn't get into it. I feel like I was watching the same scene over and over again.
True. Yeah, I do recall that.
And just listening to Nat King Cole like 50 times throughout the movie.
Yeah.
So 1950 score 70.
1953.
1953?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, score 70, but a higher attachment. All right, so that puts Tokyo Story at number 30 on our list. Right above Barry Lyndon, just due to your attachment kicker, which is great. But you know what time it is, Parker?
I have been waiting for this moment.
For a very long fucking time. It's finally time to spin the damn wheel and see what we will be pulling, because this ship is still going. This journey hasn't ended yet.
No, it has not. We've still got like 75% of the way to go.
Correct.
Not quite, actually. We've more got like 66% of the way to go. 64% of the way to go.
We got something. We still
more
got
than half.
We do definitely still have more than half. According to how many we have 65 entries left.
Yeah.
So we're still going through it, dude. We still have Schindler's List, Godfather, Spider-Verse. Like, we still got a bunch of good movies down the pipeline.
Some could say top 100 movies.
Yeah. But are you ready, buddy?
I'm ready. Let's do it. I've been ready.
All right, here we fucking go, dude. This is it. We're back, baby. And what are we back with?
Almost Goodfellas.
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. I've not seen. Have you seen it already?
Perfect Blue?
Yeah.
No.
Me neither.
Have you?
No.
Good. Because
you know of it?
I have been dying to watch this movie, dude.
It's an animated movie. It's a horror movie, right?
It is an animated Japanese horror movie.
Oh, let's go.
Let's get this pulled up right quick. Yeah, dude. No,
82
this movie,
minutes.
Yeah, something small.
That's crazy. It's so it's not barely even a feature film.
Thank God. Honestly, like
to be
it's
fair,
nice
Sherlock Jr. was like 45 minutes.
What was?
Sherlock Jr.
Oh yeah. All right, cool. So we got Perfect Blue from 1997, directed by Satoshi Kon. The color of illusion is perfect blue. Encouraged by her managers, rising pop star Mima, it's my grandma's name, takes on a recurring role on a popular TV show when suddenly her handlers and collaborators begin turning up murdered. Sounds exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Same. I have been dying to watch this movie for a while. When we pulled it, I think it was at like 70 something. Perfect Blue. It was at 56.
So it has dropped significantly.
It has dropped
now
to
at number 69
nice.
on the list.
I mean, not nice. The fuck? It's a good movie.
You don't know that.
I don't know that. What? Every time I think, oh yeah, this is gonna be a good movie, we then look at it and we're like, oh, maybe even with Dune, I thought it was gonna be so much higher. And what are we at with Dune? It was like number
Dune
8.
was okay. Dune was pretty good. It was okay.
Yeah.
It's like
just
it's a number 8. See, for
right
me,
thing.
number 8 is high on this list. Like, I think Love Exposure above it. I'd put Fanny and Alexander above it. And my scores probably didn't reflect that. And like my opinions change over time. Like,
yeah,
I would love to go back and revisit our lasting impression scores because Love Exposure is a movie I still haven't stopped thinking about and telling people about. Fanny and Alexander has become one of my favorite movies to think about and one that I'm dying to revisit.
Yeah, what the fuck? Love Exposure is number 21.
21. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that movie. So
like I still think about Love Exposure. I couldn't tell you what nobody knows was the kids that get abandoned, right? In Japan.
Yes. When we get to 50, I say we should go back and rescore our top 40 or like rescore the first 35
that's a
or
whole
40.
ass video in its own.
No, just the lasting impression score so that the lasting impression is an actual lasting impression
and see
score.
Like how the scores change and all that. I could be down with that.
I personally do that all the time. The two categories that I typically change, I don't like going back and changing a lot because typically I like to see what my first impression of a movie was. However, if I go back and change a score, typically it's lasting impression or enjoyability and rewatchability because sometimes I think, oh, this movie was so much fun. And then like months go by and I think I really don't care to watch that movie again. And so I'll drop the score a little bit. But yeah, feelings are fluid. So I'm excited we have finally our next movie, Perfect Blue. I'm very excited that it is Perfect Blue. I've heard of it as well. I don't think I'm quite as familiar with like what it is as you may be, but I've heard that it's good. I've heard that it's a horror movie, one of the few that we have on this list, and probably one of my favorite genres. Definitely one of my favorite genres, if not my favorite genre. So yeah, I'm stoked. I'm sure that we'll be putting out the next episode much quicker than this one came out. Our hiatus is officially over. The vehicle to bust the rhyme now, leading new school full of students.
Dude, this is fucked. This episode is fucked.
Sorry, I was just in the middle of rapping Rap God during the dead air.
Dude, that is fucking nuts. But
that way you have some stuff.
Perfect Blue. I'm excited. Let's close this shit out and we can.
All right, great episode. See you next time, guys.
Where can people find you, Parker?
Just cut the cord.
Well, we're glad to have everybody back here. I'm so glad to be back on the pod. And as always, everybody, this is the LetterBros podcast, and we will see you at the movies
soon.
Sooner than later.